Hi, I'm Jane-Velez-Mitchell, and I am here with our mascot, Foxy, and I'm very delighted today to be, of course, joined by my co-host, Donnie Moss, and his companion, Max. There you go, Max. And we have two fabulous guests today, Miles Shane, who is a noted producer, as well as Naomi Hiltz, who is a noted director. Naomi, why don't I start with you? You have an incredible project that is a working title, I guess you might say, is Farming Humans. What exactly are you going to do?
Well, it's kind of a science experiment in a sense. What we want to do is we want to show people how farm animals are treated on a daily basis. So what we want to do is we want to put people in cages for 10 days, and we want to do 12 volunteers and have 3 different groups. So have 4 people be treated as cows, 4 people as pigs, and 4 people as chickens for 10 days. And they're not going to undergo all the horrors that the animals go through, but a lot of them.
And what is in that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Your purpose. What's the goal? What are you trying to show the viewers?
We're trying to, you know, it's an animal rights documentary. We're trying to show through humans, so human viewers, so to speak, can try to relate a little bit more, try to empathize with the animals. We're hoping to show people how horrible conditions are for animals on farms, and we feel that we might be able to get to more humans if we put humans in the role instead of animals.
And you're coming to us from your iPad, so congrats on that technological achievement. Now, Miles Shane, if you could just look up and look into the camera, which is the little light above the laptop. Thank you for joining us. And I know you have produced some pretty incredible television. You and Naomi have been involved in projects where you've done a lot of stuff. I don't want to get into any names of any TV shows in particular or any companies, but you're saying that it's hard to get this particular issue on the air. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean the basic thinking here is, and I know you and I did a pre-interview a while back, is this is about, you know, animals that a lot of people eat that are farm animals and how horrible they are being treated. Now we're saying let's put human beings in that same situation and get people to emphasize, you know, to feel for these people, so ultimately we can stop the torture of farm animals and hopefully one day stop the eating of animals completely. Now, what your viewers have to understand here is that the people who pay for television to be made, the sponsors, are places like McDonald's and Walmart, and they, you know, they buy the ads. So why would the networks?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get into any specifics about any companies in general. We're talking about a societal issue here. Donnie Moss. I think it's a great idea to trade places, as it were, and allow people to understand what, for example, being in a gestation crate, unable to turn around, feels like. In fact, the Humane Society has created a human gestation crate and does demonstrations on street corners and shows people what it's like to stay in for 4 minutes, much less for months on end.
Wow.
Jane, turning the tables, Jane, and giving us a taste of our own medicine is really a provocative approach. But as Naomi pointed out, they can replicate the confinement and they can replicate what it would be like to live in your own excrement. But what they can't do in a movie like this is perform the kinds of mutilations that animals on factory farms experience, like being castrated and being branded and having their beaks seared off. But what they're doing here is very provocative, very exciting. Pardon?
Or their tails cut off without anesthesia, which is routine practice.
That happens to dairy cows.
Yeah, so even when you put human beings into these horrific conditions, you could only really replicate, I would say, 40% or 30% or 20% of the horror, because ultimately, Naomi, the human beings aren't going to be slaughtered either. They're not going to be put in a truck and taken to slaughter.
No, definitely not. We're not going to be able to do that. We're not going to be able to inject them with hormones, that kind of stuff. They're going to be suffering quite so much in such a small percentage of what we do to farm animals already. Like you said, they're going to be unable to move, unable to sit down half the time. They're going to be stuck next to their fellow animals / volunteers without really being able to move a lot. You know, very little sunlight. The food is not going to be gourmet, that's for sure. The bathrooms will be in the same spot that they sleep in,
now,
if they can sit
You've
down.
gotten people who have agreed to do this?
We have had so many people that have agreed to do it that not only have we been inundated with volunteers, but they have said to us that we're not doing enough of cruelty to them, that they feel that that we should be doing more, but legally we can't, obviously. We can only do so much.
They said to us, the people who want to volunteer, they said, you know what, we get to go home, the animals don't. So that was their big sort of statement.
And what kind of people want to do this? Obviously, I would assume animal activists who are saying they want to experience this to send a message to the rest of America and the rest of the world. I know you're I believe in Canada.
Yeah, a lot of animal activists and vegans are gung-ho about it, but what we want to do, preferably to make it non-biased in general, is we want to get volunteers who are vegans, vegetarians, and meat eaters to be volunteers if that's possible, so we can have an equal amount of different variety. Because, I mean, vegans and animal activists, they're gung-ho for it, obviously, and they're the people that are already not putting money into this industry. But we want to persuade and change the minds of meat eaters and vegetarians.
Donnie Moss, these are people who are well established in the television industry. I've looked both of them up, and they have quite really impressive credentials and projects that they've gotten on the air. Now, what I see are more and more Americans going out of their way to do anything, absolutely anything, to wake the public up about what's going on with 9 billion farm animals. I'm a journalist. You're a documentary filmmaker. We have a TV producer and a documentary filmmaker and a TV filmmaker. We're all like beating our chest saying, hello, you've got to know about this. And everywhere I turn, it's lawyers, it's doctors. We just had dinner the other night where there was a doctor who's surgically trained, and he wants to devote his life to this. Something's going on, Donnie.
You know, Jane, it's authors too. In the book Eating Animals, Jonathan Safran Foer points out that most of us sit down 3 times a day to eat meals that contain animals, but we have no idea where those animals come from. And a documentary film like Farming Humans will reach a whole new audience. People are going to be fascinated by the concept, and that will awaken them to the plight of the billions of animals who suffer and die in factory farms and slaughterhouses, Jane.
Well, Donnie, I think, Jane and Donnie, I think what's really interesting about the point Donnie makes is, from just a very young age, and Nomi and I are married and we have young kids, these young kids are brainwashed to eat meat. They go to the fast food chains, and, you know, these things aren't called cow burgers or cow, you know, they're called other names.
Whatever, there's names. I don't want to get into any specific.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. There's nobody, you know, hamburgers might as well come up from hamburger trees as far as they know. And, you know, if you look back, and Naomi, the Humane Society of the United States has a great link that shows how many animals Americans used to consume, and it's skyrocketed from the 1950s with the advent of fast food, and now it's kind of tabloid and may have even dropped incrementally as people become more and more aware of this issue. But is this going to be the kind of documentary that's so disturbing nobody's going to want to watch it? Or I would say it's the kind of thing that actually would be watchable, because so few people want to watch the actual horror of what's happening in factory farms. You can't get people to watch it. Mercy for Animals and PETA and the Humane Society and all these organizations, Farm Sanctuary, have these videos, and people say, don't show me. I don't want to know. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, they do. It's there's still, tons of stuff on my Facebook that my friends post about different animals, domestic animals, farm animals, and I can't watch a lot of them because it's too disturbing. Like I, want to be able to sleep at night. But this documentary isn't really going to show that many animals. It's really obviously representing animals. It'll have a little bit, in order to explain what we're doing, but it's really, showing the people. And we get to know the people a little bit.
And they're suffering, I assume. Now, Simone Reyes, who is associated with Russell Simmons, she's worked on a lot of projects with him and works with him. She is involved in this as well, correct?
Yeah, Simone will be hosting the documentary, and she's a huge animal activist, as a lot of people know. So we look forward to working with her and her help spread the word. And just to go back on your observation before, I think people will watch this documentary because we're going to get to know these characters so well, these people so well, and their families so well before we put these people in cages. And once they're in cages, the audience is going to care about them, and they're going to cry, and it's going to be tough for them to see what's happening to them. And we hope that ultimately they'll make that connection with animals, because we're going to have their families visiting them on the barn. We're going to have their families watch.
Factory farming, Donnie, and this isn't a criticism, it's simply an observation, the babies are taken away from their mothers. They are taken away, and they are removed from their mothers, often very shortly after birth. So obviously that's not something that could be done legally with human beings, because that would be essentially, considered cruelty, which is, guess what? It is cruelty to separate a baby from her mother.
Jane, we see undercover footage taken in factory farms of pigs in gestation crates chewing on their bars and bleeding because they go insane from the intensive confinement. They don't speak English, and the only way they can communicate is by doing that. It'll be interesting to see in Farming Humans what the threshold is of the people who are kept intensively confined in these cages. They're going to be able to say, "Get me the hell out of here," and it'll be interesting to see how the filmmakers respond to that.
Naomi?
They won't be able to get out.
If somebody says, "I can't take it, get me out of here," I signed up, but it's just too awful, what do you do?
Well, they'll have to sign quite a lot of legal documents before they do it. We're going to have them in, physical and mental exams before they do it. You can't just leave easily, but if somebody really can't take it anymore and they're like something like they're totally at the end of their rope, then we're going to have to release them. But that's just another point that we're getting across, that they can't take it for 10 days. So it just kind of it makes our documentary, the point of our documentary, even more strong than it was before if they leave.
Miles,
but it's not going to be that easy for them.
You've worked with a lot. If you could look into the camera, please. Thank you. You've worked with a lot of big companies. I don't want to mention the names of any company, but are you having a hard time getting somebody in the TV world to buy this?
We're having a very, very difficult time trying to find television buyers, networks, to commit money to this programming. So what we've done is, we're sort of going the crowdfunding route right now. We have a page up, a GoFundMe page, and we're hoping to raise the money like that and self-distribute the film if we have to, because the word has to get out there. People have to know what's going on to these what's happening to these barn animals.
Yeah, And, this is what we're all about, the democratization of information. I like to say, I am the media for animals. Donnie is the media for animals. You're the media for animals. Naomi, you're the media for animals. And there we have Donnie, the media for animals. And you watching at home or on your laptop or on your cell phone, you are the media for animals. We have to get the word out. They can't speak for themselves. I want to wish you the very best on your project. Keep us updated. Maybe in a couple of weeks we can come back with a family who has agreed to be a part of this and interview them. I'm going to put up your crowdfunding information, so hopefully you can get some funds going in. I applaud you. Naomi, best of luck, and absolutely, Miles, I think this is an incredible project. I know you've done a lot with the LGBT community in the past and done some incredible breakthrough programming. And as an out gay person, I can tell you I applaud you for that. And I applaud you tackling these very difficult subjects, even though there's a lot of people who just say, oh, I'd rather not know. I'm glad you're making them think about it. All right, JaneUnchained.com for the very latest. We speak for the voiceless, the victims of crime, human, animal, and nature. Signing off.